on here a little early just to make sure that the video is working. How are you all today? You excited to see what I have in store without lunges? I know, I'm excited to see it too because let's be honest, I love me some lunges almost as much as I love me some planks. So, and since I couldn't use either of those in this class today, I do love a good challenge. Couple words. Now it's 9 o'clock, I'll give you guys time to show up, but in the meantime, a couple words to those of you who are watching. I have terrible allergies, so I sound probably a little more like Fran Drescher today than typical. So please forgive my nasally sound. Today's class is a full yoga class, but I'm giving options for restorative practice within it. So if you have the availability, you can grab a bolster, which is, you know, one of these big giant guys here, or a pillow that might be about that high, or a couple pillows, and maybe a stack of blankets. And you'll probably want to have 2 blocks because we're going to do a little bit more in the hamstring area. So a lot of times we really do need that extra support for hamstrings. I'm going to do my best not to run out of time today, but I create what might be a pretty long class. So I'm going to try and use my brain and shorten it where I can. Anyway, obviously my allergies are affecting everything in my mind, so let's just hope we can get through this today. Water's always good to have nearby. I have tea and honey, and I always have crumpled up tissues because I'm super fancy like that. So when you're ready, go ahead and lay down onto your mat, and we're gonna start just like we always do. If you want to play soothing music in the background, you're welcome to do that. Right at this point, all noise hurts my head. So it's like the worst allergy hangover in the world. So we're going to lay down onto our bellies. Let the hips settle in. Let your head rest onto your arms. We're starting exactly the same as we always do. See if you can feel the weight of your body just shift into the floor. And start to take some deep breaths in and out through your nose if that's possible for you today. As you inhale, you might notice that the belly expands and presses against the ground. And as you exhale, you might feel like the belly contracts towards the spine and the body rests deeper into the floor. So taking your time here, breathing deep, inhaling, feeling the abdomen expand, and exhaling and feeling the body rest towards the ground. Slow, deep inhalation, and slow, deep exhalation. And we're not going to be here very long today because this isn't a very vigorous class. So taking some time to ground and just be aware of how our body's feeling, the good and the bad, and just accepting where we're at this moment. Being fully ready to accept any changes that happen in the body as they come, any changes that happen in the mind. Whatever is coming, just letting it go, resisting the urge to control, and just experience. I'm going to take 1 or 2 more breaths just like this. And then we're going to take those legs nice and wide apart, bend both our knees, and start to windshield wiper our legs from side to side. So both legs go from one direction to the other. My head's up so I can talk to you, but you can keep your head down onto your arms. See if you can soften the lines of the throat, the cheeks and the eyes. When we soften the muscles of the face, the rest of the body feels the same way. It starts to soften as well. You might notice that it's really, really hard to scream at somebody while you're smiling or while your face is relaxed. Unless you're super talented. One more time. Awesome. Come back into center, and we will move back into our child's pose. So you're gonna press your hands into the floor, shift your weight up, take the big toe mounds of the feet together, bend both your knees, and let your hips come back towards the heels. If your hips don't touch the heels, you can place a blanket underneath of your buttocks where the heels are. And you can just let the body rest in whatever manner you want. This is also a really nice time to bring in a bolster or a blanket or a stack of blankets or a pillow, and you can just let the body rest onto something in front of you. Again, you don't have to do this. The whole class has options for restorative, but we won't be in here as long as a restorative class would ask for. Again, you can have your forehead resting on the floor. You can turn your head, whatever works best for you. You're just going to let your body settle into this child's pose position, letting there be length in the back of your body and letting there be space in the front of your chest and throat and a broadness even in the chest. And maybe as you're in this position, you can start to feel your breath expand into the back of your body. You can feel the expansion and the contraction. As you inhale, feeling the back body broaden. And then as you exhale, feeling the back body rest. And just taking maybe 3 or 4 more breaths just like this. Again, if you're looking up, I'm just up a little higher because I have to be able to breathe and also I have to be able to talk. So just taking your time, finding those slow, deep breaths in and out. And then one more just like this. And then from here, if you're using any kind of support underneath you, you're going to go ahead and roll that support away. Just for a little bit, you want everything to be pretty close by. And then go ahead and bring yourself back up into a hands and knees position. So if you've done classes with me in the past, you know that this whole portion here is exactly the same as it always is. So we're lifting the center of the chest and lifting the tailbone, giving ourselves this nice arch. And then as we exhale, we're rounding the spine and rounding the spine. So you're moving through cat-cow nice and slow. Again, breathing slow and steady. This whole arching and releasing can be done all the way through the neck. So you can look up as you inhale, and then as you exhale, you can bring your chin to your chest and round deeply. And we'll do this about 2 or 3 more times. Excuse my sniffly. And then one more. Let's go ahead and bring our spines to a neutral position and walk our hands forward from our shoulders. We're going to tuck our toes, and we're not coming into a down dog to hold. We're just coming in so we can come out. So you're going to lift your toes or push your toes into the floor, lift your knees off the ground, and then we're just going to start to walk our feet forward. And then once we get to the front of your mat, remembering that the front of your mat is this top part. Once you get to the front of your mat, you might want to go ahead and grab 2 blocks and just have them nearby. If you're not using blocks today, this point is useless. So don't worry about it. You just can come into your forward fold whatever way you want. And then bend your knees, press your feet into the floor, come all the way up, reach your arms overhead. See if you can find an upward mountain pose. So we're just lifting up through the center of the chest, and we're seeing if we can find that plumb line from ear to shoulder to rib to side of hip, side of knee, side of ankle, all the way down into the earth. Pressing through the feet, we start to feel the engagement of the legs, and we can start to lift through the center of the chest as we let the tailbone lengthen outwards wherever it feels it needs to be. We don't want to tuck here and move our hips forward. We want to keep that natural curve in the spine. Take one more breath here. And then as you exhale, and I know you're not going to like this at first, but I want you to take a chair. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can place your hands onto your hip bones, sit back, let your weight shift back towards your heels, and for those of you who have a block nearby, place that block between your knees. This keeps your knees nice and level and keeps you from rocking from one side to the other. So you're pushing the weight back a little bit. We're going to pull the belly button towards the spine, so we're engaging the core. And then if you want to, the arms can come by the ears. So we don't have to be in a squat position. Remember that you're not coming down really low. Your belly's not even on your thighs. You're lifting through the top of the head, and if the hands there don't feel good, you can place your hands in front of your chest. We're going to hold here for 2 more breaths. Nice deep inhales and exhales each time. And then as we exhale from here, we're going to go ahead and take a forward fold. The hands are going to come down to the blocks. We're going to shift the weight forward towards the balls of the feet, so we're shifting forward a bit. And if you need your knees slightly bent here because your hamstrings are a little tight and it's the beginning of class, go ahead and keep them slightly bent. Take some nice deep breaths here. Let your head relax. Top of your head coming towards the floor. Again, weight shifting slightly forward so that you can try and get those ankles underneath the knees and the knees underneath the hips as best as you can. Hold here for about 3 more breaths, shaking out your head, softening your neck and your jaw. 1 more breath here. And then as you inhale, press through your feet, bend your knees, come all the way up, find your mountain pose again. Take a nice stretch here. And then exhale, let's take it right back into our chair. So hands can come together in front of the chest. Everything's coming back into the heels a bit. You can still wiggle your toes, right? And then we're using that block between the knees for those of us who have access to blocks. Lifting the center of the chest, pulling in through the core. So keeping strong here so that our lower back is safe. I know, you're like, I thought this was going to be an easy class. We're just warming up the body, and chair really does warm up your body quickly. You don't want to be nice and cold and trying to stretch. Holding here, maybe 3 or 4 breaths. Stay engaged in the abdomen, maybe 2 more. Last breath, forward fold. Go ahead and place your block back down. Shifting that weight forward just a little bit here. So the weight was in the heels, now we're shifting the weight a little bit more towards the toes. Shake out your head, soften your neck and your jaw. 1 more breath here. Awesome. We're going to take this into a standing forward twist. So we're going to place one of our blocks in front of our feet. So let's say it's the right block. The right block's going to go in front of our feet. You can also have your right hand on the floor if that works for you, or you can take a different height with your block. Then from here, we're going to just go ahead and bend that right knee and take that left arm to the sky, opening up to the left side. Shifting that weight forward just a little bit. Breathing here nice and steady. And then exhale, and let's take that left hand down to the block. So as we take the left hand to the block, we'll go ahead and bend that left knee and just reach that right arm up. Nice and steady, strong breath. Nice deep spin. Awesome. And then as you exhale, take the hands back down to the blocks. And we're going to press our feet into the floor and come right back up again. And then this is our last time going through this chair sequence. So as you exhale, go ahead and sit back. Maybe this chair is your best one because you've warmed up a little bit. Maybe we can move the ribs in a little bit deeper here. We can find the shoulders descending on the back. We can lift that weight out through the top of the head as we descend through the heels, wiggling out the toes. Maybe the block comes back between the knees. Again, all up to you, right? We want to keep ourselves from overarching. Stay here for 2 more breaths. I promise it's all over after this. Last one. Awesome. Take yourself back down into a forward fold. Shake out your head. Soften your neck and your jaw. Wonderful. So having the blocks nearby, if you'd like to have blocks during your down dogs, we're going to step back into down dog from here. So for those of you who are like, you said no lunges, you don't have to lunge, you can just walk your feet back. So now once we're in our down dog position, we have to readjust everything, right? So this is our first variation of the down dog. You can bend both your knees and move your hips back nice and far. You can press away to the base of the thumb and the first fingers and the rest of the fingers. We can externally or open up the shoulder blades here. So from this position, we can start to walk out. Bending one knee, lowering the opposite heel to the mat. Finding space in our body. Trying to keep space in our neck. Again, I have my head up because I'm talking to you, but in most situations here, we're going to let our head just hang. We're going to let our gaze actually be towards the navel. One more time like this. Excellent job. And then from here, we're going to take this into a little bit of a down dog twist. So let's lift both heels up. And then from this position, lower the heels wherever they need to go. For those of you who are ready to put blocks under your hands, go ahead and do that. You can roll up the edge of your mat and have your wrist on the rolled up part. That'll help. And then from this position, let's take the feet a little wider apart. This is going to give you a little more access to the hips. We're going to take this into a twist. So when we are ready to twist, we're going to take the weight into the right hand. Left hand's going to come off the earth. And we're just going to place that left hand behind us. And maybe it's going to grab the upper thigh. Maybe it's going to slide down towards the ankle. But as we do this, we want to keep shifting the hips back. For some people, it's going to feel a little better to have your right hand towards center. So just breathing here, looking under that right arm if you want to, and holding. One more breath. And then let's go ahead and release. Come back to down dog or child's pose if you need a little break, or placing your head on a bolster. And then we'll just try it all the way through to the other side, just like we did before. So the left hand can come a little more center for those of you who feel more comfortable and confident with that hand there. The right hand's going to come underneath of our body. And we're going to just find maybe the outside of the upper hip. Maybe we walk all the way down to the ankle and we just look under that left arm. Breathing here. Slow, deep inhales and exhales. You can wrap as far around as you want to, right? You can even just let the hand rest on the floor. 2 breaths. Awesome. Let's come all the way out. Once again, finding that down dog position, stretching the hips back, looking for space, looking for length, looking for openness. And then we're going to walk our feet forward into mountain pose. Again, no lunges, walking forward. Once you get to the front of your mat, keeping in mind that this is the front of your mat, press through your feet and rise all the way up. Adjust your clothing because it's yoga and clothing gets all messed up. And then from this position, we're going to take ourselves into a wide leg forward fold. So let's do that. Go ahead and take your feet wide on the mat. And then from this position, from this wide leg position, we're going to actually take a big stretch out through the arms. So both feet are facing forward and we're going to reach through those arms. We'll take a little bend in the knees so we can shore up and strengthen through the inner leg and the outer leg, and then reach the arms up. As you exhale, keeping those knees slightly bent so you're not just shifting forward, we're going to push the buttocks back, reach the hands towards the front of the room or wherever this part of the room is for you, and then bring the hands down onto the mat. Now, depending on how flexible you feel today and how your hips feel, you might have one of your hands or both of your hands, on blocks here. You might not, and that's okay. So keeping the knees bent at first to help press the tailbone back. Stretching out through each toe and each finger. And then nice and slow, lowering each toe to the mat. And reaching the tailbone up towards the sky. Letting the head come down towards the earth. So if you are looking to add a bit of restorative to this, instead of just trying to keep your head on the floor, you might place a block under your head or a couple blankets under your head so that you don't want to get so high that you're shifting your head up, but instead your head and neck are nice and long, right? So it would be the top center of your head to the floor or the top center your head to the earth. However that works for you, remembering it's still early in the morning and you're not going to be as flexible as you think you should be right off the bat, right? So keeping this going, you might need to keep your knees slightly bent. Again, blocks under the hands, head on a block, whatever works for you. Or you could just hang out here and just see how that feels today. Take some slow, deep breaths here. Again, I am up because I can't breathe and also because I have to talk, but you can just keep letting your body hang or hinge from your hips. So you have this nice hip hinge, and you can just let that body hold itself down, kind of like a water down the face of a waterfall. You can just let the spine fall towards the floor. And then as you're here, the weight of the head, the weight of the upper body starts to stretch out the spine, bringing every vertebrae in line, hopefully. We're going to be here for about 4 more breaths, taking our time, shifting that weight forward just a little bit. And then from here, we're going to place the hands flat onto the floor or blocks. We're going to go ahead and take a twist from here as well. So moving that weight forward towards the balls of the feet, left hand stays onto the floor, or whatever hand this is for you, it's probably your right, and reach the opposite arm onto the sky, or into the sky. You can have your hand on a block here, right? Absolutely. This does not have to be a crazy posture. And then also, let's take it down. And try it on the other side. Notice the difference. There is going to be one. So the hands to center and the feet are firmly on the ground, and we're shifting that weight forward, engaging our thigh muscles, making sure they're up. One more breath. Excellent. So again, if you have your blocks, I'd like you to place them at the highest height behind your ankles here. So it's always good to have your props nearby. If you aren't using blocks today, no big deal. We're going to walk our weight all the way over to the right, and we're going to turn that right foot out. As we do that, we'll place the right hand onto the block. You can have a slight bend in your knee, and then we're going to come right into a triangle pose. A pose that has no lunge aspect, but has a nice stretch to it. Move your right hip away from your armpit, press down through your left pinky toe, engage your right thigh muscle, move the right hip back. Not back to the wall behind you, but back towards that left hip. Now move your left hip open, so you're rolling the buttock back. Hold here for 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. Maybe this last one you want to place that left arm by your ear. Big stretch, extended triangle pose. And then nice and slow, we're going to come right back down. So bend that right knee, take your hands to the floor, walk all the way across, right foot faces forward, left foot faces out. Take it all the way over to your block, bend your left knee on your way up, and then reach this right arm to the sky. Triangle or Trikonasana on the left side. Rotating the right hip back, finding space between the left hip and the left armpit, engaging this left thigh muscle, not just hyperextending. So we don't want to push the knee back, we want to engage the muscles around the knee. Roll the shoulder blades down. Keep rotating from the ribs, from the navel, from everything. Let everything open here. Stay with it for 3 more breaths. Last ones. Awesome, very good job. And then bend that left knee, take your hands down to the mat, carry your left block with you. This time we're going to go through this wide leg stance. Just place it somewhere in the center. Bend your knees, press through your feet, and rise up. Perfect. We're going to shorten the stance just a little bit. So we're going to step the back foot. This is the front of your mat, the back foot. We're going to step the back foot in just about maybe 1 foot step. And then from here, we're going to turn the right foot towards the front of the mat, or whatever this foot is, towards the front of the mat. Again, allergies, brain's a little foggy. And your back foot is going to be facing that direction as well. But not so much in the same exact manner. You actually have the back foot facing the shoulder and the front foot facing the front of your mat. So we have a slight, or more than a slight, internal rotation in this back thigh area. The hips are neutral, they're nice and facing forward. And then from here, you're going to keep your front leg nice and straight. We have moved the blocks now to the front foot, so they're on each side of the right foot, for me at least. Let's reach the arms up. And then exhale and take the hands down. You can bend your knee a little bit to get down there. And place your hands onto those blocks. Start to shift the hips back, so we're moving the front hip back, or the right hip back and the left hip forward. Engage the thighs. Hold here. Find a nice strong pose. You're going to be here for about 3 more breaths in this manner, so don't drop down to your shin just yet. You might be feeling this up and down the legs, and that's okay. Let the shoulder blades draw back. See if you can keep your mid-back from rounding and not arching either, but keeping a nice, strong, long spine. Let's stay here for 1 more breath. And then from this position, depending on how you're feeling today, you might be able to take your hands to a lower level on the blocks, or maybe you're on the floor already. And then from here, you can shift your weight forward and back just a little bit to give you the space. And as the head's coming down towards the leg, wherever that might be, maybe your head touches your shin, maybe not, go ahead and press down through the front foot's big toe and the back foot's pinky toe. You can stay as low as you want here. You can have a slight, very slight bend in your front knee, or you can try and keep the knee straight, the leg straight, but I want you to keep it engaged. Don't just push the knee back. Stay here for 1 more breath. And then if you're using blocks and have come down off the blocks, come back on. If you're not, then this is going to be a super fun stretch for you. So from here, and I'm going to take my left hand to the highest block. So my right foot's forward, my left hand's to the highest block. And then from this position, I'm going to keep the hips neutral. So I'm going to keep those hips level. And I'm going to start to spin and reach my right arm up. This is going to be a bit of a balance, and you can do this with your left hand on the floor. Right hip comes back. Back heel stays on the ground. You are in a revolved triangle. Let's take 1 last breath here. I know it's a difficult one. And then take that right hand right back down to the mat or floor. And we're going to bend this right knee just a bit so we can come up and carry our blocks if we're using them with us. We're just going to shift directions now. So you're going to turn your feet so your back foot is now facing the back of the mat. Front foot is the other way. So left foot's forward, right foot's back. From here, the blocks are going to come to each side of the ankle. We're going to keep the hips nice and level, moving that back hip forward, left hip back, because we want the hips to be neutral but level here. Engage the thigh muscles on both sides. Press through the back pinky toe side of the foot, front big toe side, and then reach your arms up. Exhale, take it down nice and slow, keeping the hips level. And the hands come down to your blocks or to the floor. For those of you who have been fighting me about blocks and the usage of blocks, trust me when I say that these poses take on a whole new meaning when you have a little bit of extra support under your hands. If you're not needing them at all, then mazel tov and wonderful. So then from here, top of the head comes forward, back hip swings forward. We want the hips to stay level. You're going to want to keep opening. You want to keep your hips level. The spine's going to stay nice and long because we're not coming down yet. We know we have time. We have length in the spine. We're pulling the belly button to the ab or up and in here just to keep yourself strong. Stay within. Stay breathing. Try not to hyperextend either knee. Let's be here for 2 more breaths. Last ones. And then nice and slow, let's carry ourselves down. Wherever that may be, you can bring your head all the way down to your shin if you want. You can bring your head down wherever it might hang. You can let your hands rest on the floor. You can let your hands rest on the lower block area. Whatever works best for you. Press down through that front big toe side of your foot though. Don't roll off the foot. Don't roll into your ankle in the back. Stay with it. 1 more breath. Really strong, deep inhales and exhales. And then when you're ready, let's come right back up to the blocks or up to the hands. or upright. And then we're gonna take one of those blocks, the one under your right hand, at the highest height. Keep the legs as they are and start to sweep that left arm up to the sky, keeping your hips level. I know, it's not the easiest pose, but just keep breathing. Stay with it. This is probably the hardest thing you're gonna have to do for this class besides all those chairs. Last breath, maybe 2 more if you feel like you're breathing fast. And then exhale, take it all the way down. Bend the knee just a little bit, grab your blocks, come all the way up. Turn to face forward. And then from here, we're gonna face the front of the mat again. You can place your blocks down onto the ground, and this was just gonna be a switch into a down dog. Step 1 foot back, step the other foot back, down dog. So if you're feeling like you're really tired here, you don't have to stay in down dog. You can take child's pose. For those of you who have a stack of blankets or a bolster or a bunch of pillows, you can try doing a down dog restorative variation, which means that you would just bring the hands forward on each side of your stack and let the head rest. Still active in the arms and torso and core, still pressing the hips back and up. Finding length in the neck and the jaw and the throat. Giving yourself just a little bit of time here. Maybe this support under your head needs to be built up a little bit. You are welcome to do that as well. Stay with it. One last breath, maybe 2. Awesome. If you're in child's pose, just take a break or come out of child's pose and come into hands and knees or into down dog. This posture can be done from both. We're going to take that right knee and bring it forward and lower that left knee to the floor. So you know this, it is pigeon pose. And depending on any discomfort you might have, you might need to place a blanket or a pillow underneath of your right hip if your right knee hurts when you do this posture. So this is pigeon pose, and you are welcome to bring your supports back and rest your body onto your supports. Or you can bring yourself all the way down to the mat and rest your body onto the mat. Or if this posture is not accessible for you in any way because it hurts your knees and your hips, you can always do it from your back. So you can roll into your back, pull the left, or place the right ankle onto the left knee, pull in, and let your head rest. It might look like this, it might look like this. Flex the right foot. So finding the pigeon that you want to be in today and taking it down wherever it is that you feel like you need to take it to. There's a lot of abilities and options in this class today, a lot of things that you can make harder or make easier, or easier is kind of not a real word for this type of stuff, but more accessible. You could also, if you are in your pigeon and you're like, Nicole, I really need something deeper than this, you can always go into your king pigeon, or you can hold your pigeon upright, or you can start to work on pulling that left foot in and just kind of dragging it in there. Or for those of you who like to take the bind, you can do that as well. So just holding wherever it is that you feel like you're getting a good stretch. You're opening up space in the hips. The hips are able to stay level. You're not rolling to your right buttock. And just breathing the whole time. If you are staying upright, make sure that you're engaging your core, because this is a bit of a back bend. Let's take 1 or 2 more breaths just like this, up or down or wherever you chose to be. You could be here. And then we're going to come out of this. So if you are down in your pigeon, then go ahead and come up. We're going to tuck our back toes. For those of you on your back, you're just going to switch sides. You can do this 2 different ways. You can step back into down dog, or you can step back into hands and knees. It's up to you. You can be here and just switch, or you can be here and switch. But we're going to take that left knee forward. Work the right leg back. Use the supports underneath of you, for those of you who like the supported variation of your pigeon. I like this one, but that's because I'm a huge fan of using props. Or if you don't want to do that, no big deal. You can come all the way down to the earth, making sure your hips are level. Or for those of you who are like me and super sciencey right now, you might want to keep your head up. Totally understand. So again, you can place a blanket under your left buttock here as you would like, or even under your right hip bone if you want, or a pillow. You could be all jacked up here, right? And in a good way, right? Like you could have your head on the pillow, and you could have a pillow under your butt, and a pillow under your hip, and just feel like you're the happiest pigeon in the face of on the face of the planet. Or you might just feel like you need to add those extra nuances to a pigeon posture, make them a little bit more intense or a little bit more encouraging to your hips. Whatever feels best for you. Wherever you are, if you are down or up, your hips are level. If you happen to be up like I am for the reason that I said earlier, not because I want to be, pull your belly button towards your spine and lift up through your pelvic floor. That will keep that lower back safe. We do a lot of encouraging of pelvic floor engagement in my classes. All right, let's be here for another breath. And then when you're ready, you're going to come up into your pigeon again. So you're going to come into your hands if you're not already there. And then you're going to make your way back into your down dog or into your hands and knees pose. And that is completely up to you, because we're going to be here just for a brief moment. This is your last down dog, so feel free to really execute it in a manner that feels best for you. Maybe you'd like to try and take another twist again, grabbing the ankle and seeing how that works for you on both sides. Maybe that's just not in your game plan today and you're just in a child's pose, or maybe a hands and knees and just doing some cat-cows. Awesome. So we're going to come from this down dog and we're going to lower down to the mat. So whatever way you want to, you can come into your hands and knees, or you can just come into your down dog and drop down. Notice I didn't cue a plank there, so I'm still good with my promise. So from here, we're going to walk the hands back so that the base or the heels of the hands are in line with the base of the rib cage, so the very bottom of your ribs. That means your elbows are going to feel like they're a little further back than you want them to be. Legs are about hip distance apart, and there's engagement in the legs. You're keeping them heavy. We're going to roll those shoulder blades down on the back and hug the elbows in. And then from here, we're going to lift up into a cobra. And I'd like you to do it in whatever manner feels best for you first. So lifting up, keeping a slight engagement in your abdomen so you're not doing this all with your lower back and not all with your head. Hug your elbows together, lift through the center of the head, lift the sternum forward, hold here for another breath, last one, and then take it all the way down. Now, you can rest here, maybe on a pillow, maybe on a bolster, maybe nothing, and just let your head turn to the side. And we're going to go up one more time in this position, but we're going to do it a little differently. So taking the center of the head down to the earth, hands back to where we placed them before. This time, instead of just lifting up through and trying to reach through the top of the head and the sternum, I want you to locate your mouth. And you're going to lift from the mouth. And imagine that you're just reaching through, and as you reach through, your esophagus and your digestive tube, the whole digestive line of your body, is just kind of lifting with it. So center and reaching through the mouth area. So hug the elbows in, start to lift the mouth, and then start to reach as if you were trying to reach your mouth forward as far as you can. See if that gives you a little more height. It gave me a little more height just focusing there. And if you want to stay here, you can, or you can take this into an up dog, and that's up to you. You can just breathe here, keeping the elbows slightly bent. Up dog just means the knees are off the ground. You're engaging your core, lifting through the mouth, through the esophageal space, And then lowering down all the way to the mat. Take the opposite cheek to the floor and relax. Again, you can have a blanket under your head if you need to. Just keep breathing, focusing on your in and out breath. Okay. So from this position, we're going to go ahead and take another back bend. So for those of you who need to wiggle out your hips here, go ahead and do it. Or you can bend both your knees and just windshield wiper your legs from side to side. We're just going to be here for a second or two. And I'm going to give you two options for this one. Well, actually three if you want it. So you can practice cobra or up dog, just like we just did, if that feels better for you. Or you can practice a variation of locust pose. So the arms are going to come down by your sides. The feet are going to stay about hip distance apart, if not squeezed together. And then we're going to go ahead and lift through the front of the body and the back of the body. So you're coming up into, well, it's called locust. I don't know if that's the best example of what it looks like. But we're going to reach the arms back, lift the chest, and lift the legs. Right? So you might just be here feeling your oats here. This is a good place to be. If you want to go a little further and you have the practice to do it, take your knees wide, bend your knees, grab your ankles, and then before you come up, I know you want to, but pull your knees together so you keep them in line with your body. Squeeze to midline, open up the chest, and if you can imagine lifting through that esophagus area again through the mouth, go ahead and try it. But we'll push the feet into the hands, lift the head, and lift the knees. So you're reaching. So you're either in locust, cobra, down, up dog, or bow. And breathe. You can breathe into your belly, and that's going to give you a little bit more of a rock. Hug your elbow or hug your legs towards center. Stay breathing. Pull your belly button to your spine. Be here for 3 more breaths. And then lower down slow. Release. Take a head to the floor. Just any head, whichever head you're putting on the floor right now. And then before we do anything else, let's go ahead and bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs. Good job, guys. Go ahead and let the legs rest down onto the floor. We're going to roll over onto our backs so that we can sit back up. So you can take this in whatever way you want to. If you have a fancy way that you've been practicing, go ahead and do it. I'll just look like a flopping fish. Okay, so from here, you can let your body rest, take a very short corpse pose. Notice what's going on in the front and the back of the body, lower and upper body. And then I'm going to give you this option as well. You can come up in whatever manner feels best for you, but you're going to come up to seated. So for those of you who like to work with the abdominal option of this, you might be doing one of those Pilates roll-ups, right? For people who are like, nope, don't want it, not interested, then you can pull your knees in, cross your ankles. I don't know why that helps, but it does, and that can propel you up. If none of those work, roll over to your side and sit up. From there, we're going to go ahead and take some height under the buttocks. If that's a pillow, it's a pillow. If it's a blanket, it's a blanket. Sit towards the front of your blanket or pillow, so you're on the outer lip of your pillow or blanket. And then this is a good time to have a whole bunch of your props available. So maybe you have a bunch of pillows or the stack of blankets that you brought with you, or pillows and blankets, whatever it might be. But just have a bunch of those things nearby. You don't need them. So for those of you who are like, I don't have this crap, Nicole, I don't want to deal with it, then you're just going to do your regular old practice without it. Okay? So then from here, we're going to extend out through our left leg. And we're going to bend we're going to take our right right foot against our inner left thigh. Again, allergies brain issues. So for those of you without blankets, props, or anything like that, you are welcome to do this in the traditional manner that you have been taught probably a million times. The arms will come by the ears, you'll lift through the center of the chest, you'll pull the ribs in, and you'll start to bring yourself down, descending and letting the head rest wherever it wants to. You can also put a chair under your head, like place a chair right here and put your head on the chair. For those of you who are using all of the props they can possibly find, you can place those props to the inside of your leg and bring your head and body over the props. You can build props to get as high as you want, or you can turn a bolster, for those of you who are lucky enough to have these guys with you. I am a huge fan of bolsters for everything, really. So feel free to message me and I'll tell you where I get mine, but no, I don't even have to be messaged. I get them off of Amazon, and we can talk if you want to, but these are amazing practice props, and you can use them for sleeping, you can use them for just about anything. They're amazing. So once you're here, you're gonna lay your body down, wherever that might be, however that looks for you. Again, you're down, you're resting, you're finding the full stretch in your pose. I'm talking, so I'm upright, because it's easier to hear me when I'm not in a pillow. We want to keep a slight flexion in the left leg, so keeping that left foot upright is important here. Don't let it roll out or sink to the side. We want to keep that engagement there. It helps to elongate the outer and inner leg. It also helps to keep your spine long. I don't know how, but it does. We don't want to feel like we need to get our head onto something. You can always build props to get your head down. I don't want you to pull on your foot to pull yourself forward, which is helpful at some points, but it's not necessarily what we're going for right now. And just stay here for maybe a breath longer. Finding that nice stretch, whatever it might look like. And wherever you are. For those of you who don't like having your knee bent, you can always extend that leg out to the side. You can also do this while seated on a chair, or you can see what happens if you just take more height under your hips. That might actually help something with the knee. And then nice and slow, come all the way out. We're going to do the same exact thing, but this time on the other leg. So move your props, blankets, all of the stuff that you have. Go ahead and carry that left leg out. Pull your right knee in, and then go ahead and let that right knee come out to the side. So I have an injury on the right knee, this knee. So this is your left knee out to the side. I have an injury on this knee. So go ahead, if you are also like me and can't get your knee to the floor, place a blanket or a bolster under it. You've heard me say that a million times. So from here, you can come up, you can draw down, you can find space, length, opening, chest reaches forward, nice expression of the posture, or you can place your props in front of you, right? Blankets on the props, blocks on the blankets on the props, a chair, and then blankets and props, and then just let your body come down. Or the variation I just showed you on the other side, across, okay? Again, we're keeping the foot flexed, staying with our breath, finding as much space as we can in the spine, and really just allowing this posture to be what it is. It's an intense forward fold, but it's also a humbling, introspective posture, right? It brings us deeper into who we are, deeper into ourselves, deeper into the space of our body. And we can really feel the length in the spine, hopefully. Maybe even feel that opening in the hips. And just staying with that breath, steady inhale, steady exhale. Knowing that you're doing good. Everything's okay. The whole body can feel supported and loved. And it might be that you go to the watch this video again and have even more props nearby, or however it is that works best for you. Or maybe you come back to this video when you're tired of doing a lot of hard yoga or a lot of hard work outside or whatever it is that you do for a living, or maybe you're just really stressed at work. This is a nice, gentle, easy way to relax into the poses, especially this. Let's take one more breath just like this, really letting the body fold. Again, huge fan of bolsters. For anybody who needs them or would be interested, let me know. And then from this position, we're gonna come up. Perfect. And then we're gonna move all of those props out of the way for a moment, including the blanket that's under your buttocks. And instead, just placing one blanket or pillow, for those of you who aren't using a really high pillow here, you can place that blanket underneath your head and you're gonna roll back down onto the ground. I know. How could it be that time already, right? So then letting your head rest onto your blanket before you bounce, because it's getting closer to the edge of class, and I know how some of us are, we have things to do. Try bringing your right knee into your chest and just give yourself a moment, maybe it's under the thigh, in front of the shin. And give yourself a moment in this nice little wind relieving pose or releasing pose. And we'll go ahead and take this into another twist. And again, you can use the props if you want to for this twist. You're gonna go ahead and place props, bolsters, blankets, pillows next to your left hip. And then as you take your left hand to the outside of your right knee, you'll walk or pull your knee across body and let the knee rest on something. Maybe it's a blanket, maybe your knee easily comes to the floor, maybe it's a bolster or a pillow. What I'd like you to try and do here is keep your right shoulder on the ground. So if your right shoulder's on the ground and this knee doesn't touch the floor, then go ahead and put something under it. Notice I scooched my left buttock back a little bit here. That way I could get a little bit more of a functional twist from the lower back, mid-back area. And then with the shoulder down, I take it into the upper back. So breathing here, we're only here for a short period of time. Try not to tighten your glutes. You can turn and look over the right hand if you want to, or you can just look up to the sky, and that's okay. Let's take one or two more breaths just like this. Awesome. And we're just going to switch and move on to the other side. So, move those hips back to center. Extend your right leg. Pull your left knee into your chest. Maybe find your prop support. Right? I'm going to use a little bit more for myself today. You can be in front of the shin or behind the thigh here. Let the shoulders relax. Soften your breath. Stay breathing, nice inhales and exhales the whole time. And then let's go ahead and come into the twist. The right hand will come to the outside of the left knee. We'll take the prop support underneath of us. You can move that right hip under you a little bit more, but we want to try and keep that left shoulder down. Some of us, that knee will come right to the floor even with the shoulder down. Some days that might be your gig, but some days it might not be, and that's okay. And then you can turn the head and look over to the left if you want. And again, softening the glutes here. Try not to grip through the glutes. Try not to grip through the body, but instead allow your breath to open the body, to start to stretch the body out a little bit, or to rotate the body in place. giving yourself every chance to decompress and to release. And then one more breath here. And we'll come all the way out. We'll let the arms rest down by our sides. Walk the legs a little wider than hip distance apart. Maybe keep the blanket under the head. If that's not feeling good for you, you don't have to. And let the arms rest onto the floor. Close your eyes. Adjust your body so that you feel like your whole body is relaxed on the floor. And then start to take some slow, deep breaths. So slow and so deep, that you can feel the belly rise and fall with each breath. As you inhale, feeling the belly rise, and as you exhale, feeling the belly fall. And stay within that breath, slow, deep inhalations and slow, deep exhalations. And just like we do in the beginning of class, start to notice how the body's feeling. Notice any tension or tightness. Any parts that might be a little more open now. Notice if there's a softness that comes into the throat and chest. If the muscles can release towards the floor. And if you can allow a deep feeling of peace and comfort without resisting or fighting. Without worries or concerns. If you can let go of whatever it is that you're holding on to, whether it be in the body or in the mind or in the heart. If you can feel the support of the earth below you, knowing that you don't have to try, but you can just be. That you can let the body go. And you can rest fully onto the earth. Once again, try to soften the muscles of the face. Soften the back of the eyes and the cheeks, the temples, the jaw and the tongue, and the throat. And stay within each breath. Slow, full inhalation, slow, full exhalation. Let the body get heavier and heavier as the breath gets deeper and deeper. And then when you're ready, and you don't have to get up if you don't want to, for those of you who have to be doing something by 10 something, go ahead and wiggle your fingers and your toes. Pull your knees into your chest, roll over to your right side, and then press the left hand into the floor to come up into seated. And let's bring the hands together in front of our heart. And if it is in your practice, then namaste. And if it is not in your practice, then please just have a lovely weekend. Take care.